Hey, welcome to day 4 of 28 songs later. So basically today we're going to do something quite different, considering that I spent most of the day sleeping and the rest of the day being completely uninspired and having a massive writer's block and being completely unable to write anything really interesting. There is a song, I am going to stick to that no matter what. I'm always going to do something no matter what. If I'm going to be honest, I've got a couple of songs in bank in case anything goes wrong, like there's emergencies. There's a couple I've already prepared. They're quite interesting that I'm going to do anyway, but they're really there just in case anything goes wrong. Anyway, the song today is really just a quick kind of edit, call it a remix if you want, of Nightvision, the Daft Punk track from Discovery. It's not really like it's kind of seen as a filler track by a lot of people. Anyway, I quite like it, so I did a quite little edit remix of it. So what I'm actually going to do today, I'm not going to show you the song right on my screen, because I don't really think that's important. There's nothing really that special about it, and if you do have any questions you can ask me, but yeah, there's nothing particularly special. What I am going to do instead, I'm going to be self-critical of my own workflow, and this is something I've been meaning to do for a long time, because really I am in a situation where I'm not really making the most use of all of my equipment, especially one specific piece of equipment that I'm going to show you. It really is something I want to incorporate more. I think by not using it, not only am I wasting it, but also I think there's a lot that I could be doing, adding to my songs that I'm not. So I think it's a good area to explore. So I haven't done anything right now. I haven't fixed any of these problems, right? But this is something I'm going to do. This is going to be after the video, and then in tomorrow's video I'll show you kind of what I've done and how I've managed to try and integrate these into my workflow. So really the big problem is that I own an Akai MPD32. Now, before any of you say that I'm an idiot and went and spent a lot of money without meaning to use it, really I got this ridiculously cheap. I got it half of what it is new, and it was brand new. I got it that cheap because the guy I bought it from didn't understand his ASIO settings and thought there was something wrong with it. He thought it was broken. So, got me. So essentially I'm going to show you kind of how everything's laid out, and I'll tell you then what's wrong with it and why these things aren't getting used. So essentially this is my workflow. Here you can see, if I just turn the camera around, you can see my two monitors. One of them is turned off because it screws up the lighting of the camera. You can see my M-Box, you can see my microKORG, which was a massive waste of money, my Mac, my keyboard, mouse, microphone, amp is down there, computer's down there underneath there as well, and then guitar over there, clothes everywhere because the place isn't tidy, which is another workflow problem. But anyway, here is the issue. There's my case. So the issue here is I have an MPD32 and an LPK25 which someone gave me, no doubt one will be watching this video, that I barely use. So the LPK25 is literally a small portable MIDI keyboard. Really it's just, it's just USB, that's it. And there's very little to it, but it's quite useful, quite nice. The keys are about the same as my microKORG, they feel the exact same. Has a couple of pads, arpeggio settings, stuff like that. And it used to get a decent amount of use when I was in college. I used to take it with me in my bag, and I used to take out my laptop, and then I used to mess around with Ableton there. But since most of the time now I only produce at home, I don't really use it anymore. So it's kind of sitting there being wasted. Now, really that's not the biggest problem here. The point is I'm just not using it. That's not really the biggest workflow problem there, is that I just don't really have a use for it, because I already have my microKORG over here, which is pretty much more keys, and they feel the same. They're semi-weighted. They're garbage keys, really. if I was to be critical. Speaking of which, if anybody watching this video happens to know where I can find replacement microKORG parts, I would love you, because apart from contacting Korg I have no idea, and I'm missing my select 2 button, which is really wrecking my head and means I don't use my microKORG's actual sound as much as I do, which I'll come to in a second. Anyway, MPD32. So really the problem I have is because my chair is here, I kind of have to, hold on, I can animate this. I have to like scoot over to here, at which point now I'm sat here, and then I have to switch Ableton over to this monitor, turn this monitor, right? So now I've got Ableton on here, and now I've got my MPD32 which I can interact with. For a start, it's too close to the edge of this table, not giving me enough hand movement. to be able to actually interact with these pads as well as I would. So really, another thing, the only thing the big thing I'm missing, right, is I bought this because I wanted to do a lot of beat slicing, right? So I wanted to slice to these 16 pads and just screw around with just audio clips. I love doing that, but I haven't really done it that much. Usually what I pretty much do is I bind a bunch of drums to it, and then I sit here and I just dick around until I come up with a nice little beat, and then I use it basically to select drums, which is a massive waste of time. I mean, I could do that any other way. So really, this needs to be at the center of my workflow somewhere. This is important. This is something I can get a lot of use out of. So that's really one big problem. So I need to move this. This needs to get some space. Originally, I thought I could be able to scoot over here quite easily, but really, in effect, I just don't do it, mainly because when I'm here, I'm away from my keyboard. So if I need to use my keyboard, I've got to go back over there. It just doesn't work. So this needs to find its way somewhere. I'm going to have to move it somewhere more prominent. Another thing is, the most common use I have for the MPD32 that I've gone out of it is that I've just really used these faders, right? And another big issue is that I start a new Ableton file every time I start a track, and I've got to assign all of these faders. Now, not really, like, I can, these will automatically bind, right? The first 8 will bind in Ableton automatically. But the problem is using these control banks, the issue I'll have then is that the B and C control banks won't bind to the next set of faders. So if I have more than 8 faders in a song, which I generally do, I'm gonna have to sit there and actually bind them, which is more effort. So what I should do is I should have this set up in a file already in Ableton to do. So this is more work, more preparation that can help me out. Another use, here's something I'm overlooking a lot, right here. These knobs, fantastic. You can, I mean, the amount of dynamics you can provide to a song simply by adding just a filter, right? Let's just say literally a normal low pass or high pass filter, right? And just sitting here while you're playing back your song and just messing around with these knobs, giving it a good whack, just having a fun time, really. The amount you're losing by not doing that, I mean, the amount you can add, the amount you'll discover accidentally just by having fun and messing around with these knobs assigned to filters is amazing. So really, this again is something I'm wasting. I've stopped doing this. I did it when I first got it, but since then I've kind of grown out of the habit and I don't use it that much. So I mean, I've really got a huge set of controls here that I'm just not using, and that's just sitting as a control device, not even a performance device. I could do a lot more with it. So really, this needs to be integrated into my workflow, because so far it's just really not. This I'm not as worried about. This really, it's going to be useful as a portable device. So the other issue, if we go back to the microKORG over here, is that for anyone who owns a microKORG, you know that the microKORG is a bitch to program. There's no real point me trying to hover my hand over here. But really, the problem is you've got this one display, right? And that's pretty much what you do everything with. And then you've just got, like, these are kind of nice. The 4 knobs, they're fine, right? But really, unless you use this thing every day, you're going to have to be looking at this a lot of the time, which I'm not sure if you can make out in this video, is just indicators of what every single knob does in what every setting. And it's like a 2D grid kind of layout. So you'd select settings on here and then you change them on here, and it's kind of clunky, to be perfectly honest. It doesn't really fit into your workflow very well. I mean, when you've got a computer and you're using, digital synths, it's really kind of discouraging to have to go back to this and put a lot of time in. But still, I think I get a lot of nice sounds out of it. So instead of me using a bunch of crap VSDs, I could be using this. Now, I've waved my camera enough. I'll come back to me. So the thing is really that I'm not using the microKORG enough for the sounds that it brings, because it's a very powerful little device. You can get a lot of really nice sounds out of it. And when I was first learning synthesis, that's where I spent a lot of time using the microKORG, and I made a lot of cool sounds with it. But since then, since I've kind of migrated to this desk, I haven't been using it as much as I should. So the issue here is I need to combine these two pieces of equipment into my workflow. And I think for a lot of people that's something you don't realize, is that anything you do, but especially in music, you will not use things. You will just kind of do things the same way. You won't look at how you make songs and go, well, maybe I could be doing this better, maybe there's a better way for me to do this. Maybe I could, like, even if you just, now this doesn't go out just to people who have hardware laying around, this also goes out to people who, you know, are using software all the time. You might not think to yourself, like, you might do the same thing, the same setup every time. You might not think, well, I could just make a file, or I could just, if I just spent a bit of time rearranging all of this, then I could do it quicker. If I spent a bit of time learning keyboard shortcuts, I could do it quicker. And really, that's something I need to do. I'm losing time, but not even time. I'm also, like, really, the more time you spend making a song, the more, you know, you're going to get fatigued over time. So really, if you can do things quicker and more effortlessly, you know, and also in different ways, if you can keep things fun, you're going to actually keep at it longer, you're going to be more productive. So that's pretty much the lesson. It's more me talking to myself, I guess. For this video, it's really something I'm just going to have to work on, and that's what I'm going to spend the rest of the evening doing. And tomorrow's video, you'll see my attempts to use these. So tomorrow's song, actually, interesting fact, yeah, an old friend of mine I made the EP with, I was with in Freelance Police, which down below in the comments section you can see. He's coming around tomorrow. I haven't seen him in a long time, so we'll make a track together, so that'll be interesting. So may not get around to doing this workflow stuff tomorrow, like showing it off tomorrow. It will definitely be shown in tomorrow or the day after this video. So anyway, the song is down below. It's not that special, but hope you enjoyed anyway. I'm gonna sort this out and sign this out now. Thank you very much.